Hi everyone, and welcome to video 3 in the series brought to you by PPS of Morgan Solus. My name is Tracy Linnell from Morgan Solus, and today we're going to be having a look at responding to a crisis, 5 key techniques that your organizational business can use. So I think we just need to remind ourselves, what is a crisis and why is it different to an incident? A crisis is normally very unpredictable. It expands rapidly like we've seen with COVID-19. It normally garnishes quite a bit of media scrutiny. And as we mentioned in the previous video, one of the things that's really against us in a crisis is time. We have to be able to react very quickly and make decisions quite timelessly in a crisis. So let's have a look at crisis lesson number 1. Crises are never really about the crisis. Now, you might be asking why. The reality is you will always be judged by how you respond to the crisis as opposed to what actually happened. If you recall, in 2010, BlackBerry had a major network outage. And if you can recall back to that time, you weren't really cool unless you had a BlackBerry. But because they did a very poor job of actually communicating to stakeholders, interested parties, and to their clients, after the 4 days, there was so much trust that was lost in the organization that as consumers, we actually moved on to alternative products. So we don't want to be in that situation. Really is important to focus on how you respond to the crisis. The second one, what is your greatest risk in a crisis? So we've just spoken about it in our example with BlackBerry. What did the company actually lose? They lost trust. So it's actually about brand trust, and that's something we don't want to lose in a crisis. So what exactly is a brand and brand trust? So a brand is the trust your stakeholder communities put in their experience with you. Think about when you go to get your favorite cup of coffee and the experience that it leaves you with. It's actually how you feel about that organization rather than actually what you think about them. It's important to make sure that we retain and we build on that brand loyalty and that trust in our organization. Okay, crisis lesson number 3. Why are companies their own worst enemies? Now, this is a very interesting one, and I'm going to share some secret knowledge with you. It's an acronym. It's OIVIO, which stands for outside in versus inside out. In a crisis, what we tend to see happening is organizations focus inwards. They understand what the impact to their business was, to their environment, to their people, etc., which is good. But what they're not doing is they're not listening to what their customers are telling them, the consumers, the community, their stakeholders, interested parties. You do a much better job if you listen to what your external companies and parties are telling you, as well as your internal stakeholders, and then formulating your response. So focus on outside in versus inside out. Crisis lesson number 4. In a crisis mitigation, who is the most important? So when we typically have a crisis, there is normally a victim. And if we are able to follow the following rules, we normally can resolve the situation. So we talk about if you can remove the victim, you can remove the emotion, and you can remove the outrage. We see this happening a lot on social media where we have a victim who tweets something. What then happens is a lot of emotion surrounding it. Communities, followers, and influencers then get on the bandwagon and creates a major outrage. So what's really important in a crisis is to identify who the victim is, maybe internal or external, identify who they are, meet with them, understand their needs, resolve it as quickly and as efficiently as you can. And what you'll end up doing is you'll remove the emotion, remove the outrage, and you'll end up staying out the news. And that's obviously quite a key thing that we want to do in a crisis. Okay, crisis lesson number 4 looks at the 4 C's of crisis communication. The first one is having a look at the context or the current situation. So we need to be able to factually expand on and explain what happened, when, where, why, and how, and what the impact on the organization has actually been. The second one, and obviously most importantly, or very importantly, is to show concern. We need to acknowledge that something has gone wrong. We accept responsibility. We're going to apologize, and we've expressed regret and concern. For those of you who recall the KFC incident in 2018 in the UK, where they were unfortunately not able to provide chicken stock to over 900 stores in the UK, there was significant outrage. At the end of that week, KFC took out a full-page ad in the Sunday Times, and what did they do? They apologized. So it actually was very well received and actually did a lot towards rebuilding their brand trust and brand loyalty. Commitment and action. As an organization, we need to show that we're committed to fixing the problem. We're going to explain in detail what those steps are going to be, and if required, express full cooperation with the investigation or any authorities that are involved in resolving the crisis. And the last one is control. So we need to demonstrate that the leadership of our company is in control of the situation. They are focused and committed to fixing it to prevent it from happening again. And also from a communication point of view, they need to be telling all the interested stakeholders when the next communication will be happening. Okay, crisis lesson number 5. Why does leadership in times of a crisis forget the importance of friends? Now, we have something we call the triple A's. It stands for ambassadors, advocates, and allies. So what do I mean by this? When we go into a crisis situation, we want to make use of these 3 parties to help us actually formulate and rebuild our brand trust and loyalty. So ambassadors are typically individuals, movie stars or famous people, influencers, who are employed by the organization to actually promote the brand. Important to use these people. Advocates are normally our gung-ho individuals who are super fans and loyalists, and they will support your cause because they love your brand and they will take action if asked to. And then we have allies, and we've seen this quite openly in COVID-19, where companies, particularly in the event management and in the travel industry, have actually come together to form groups to help each other and unite against a situation. So those are our allies. And then we can't forget there is one left, and that's our adversaries. So there will be companies, there will be individuals out there who disagree with how we're responding to the crisis, and we need to understand who they are, why are they there, what's motivating them, and how can we respond to reduce the impact that they're going to have on our company and on our brand. Okay, and then we've got one last bonus one, which is crisis lesson number 6. Why do leadership underestimate the importance of a values-based culture? Now, the key word there is actually values. And what I mean by this is if you look at most organizations, they've got their visions, their missions, and of course, they've got their values. So values could include things like innovation, client centricity, integrity, trust, learning, etc. So when we're actually in a crisis situation, we want to be defending ourselves or communicating how we actually made our decisions in alignment with our values. It is a lot easier to defend yourself against your values than the actual facts. So we could be saying, we made this decision in alignment with our client centricity. We acted in this way because we have integrity, etc., etc. So really an important one to ensure that you respond to the situation based on the values of your organization. To the end of our presentation, you will find our contact details. Thank you very much for joining us. The next video that we'll be doing in our series will cover cybersecurity and working from home. Look forward to seeing you again. Please take care, be safe, and see you next time.